Welcome back, Patriots. We have news here where ABC moderator Linsey Davis has come out and said it was all part of the plan to only fact-check Donald Trump and not fact-check Kamala Harris. We're going to break it down for you, folks. We also have the affidavit that came out from the whistleblower of ABC News. Hit that like and subscribe button. We would really love your support. Now, Breitbart here is saying that Davis and co-moderator David Muir fact-checked Trump 7 times, and often incorrectly, while they never fact-checked Harris once, not a single time, even when she used hoaxes, such as Charlottesville's Very Fine People hoax that was also echoed by Joe Biden on the CNN debate back in June. Nobody corrected him, even though we know this was a lie 7 years ago, but was most recently debunked by Snopes regarding this whole Charlottesville hoax. Davis told the Times that ABC had deliberately targeted Trump, and only Trump, because of perceptions. It's all about perceptions. That he had been allowed to get away with false statements in the CNN debate against President Joe Biden. See, it was his lies that kind of pushed Joe Biden out. It was the lies that was the cause of Joe Biden having a poor debate performance. Not that Joe Biden's mental decline was at an all-time high, that he's falling apart. And we'll get to that later because Joe Biden's mental health was part of the affidavit from the whistleblower over at ABC. You have the New York Post here saying in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Davis said she wanted to address concerns that Trump's statements could be allowed to hang there unchallenged by his opponent or the moderators, as they were when Trump and Biden debated in CNN in June. Davis, wearing pink glasses while speaking to the Times over breakfast at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia, said the decision to attempt to correct the candidates, notice plural, but they never did it with Kamala Harris, was in response to the June 27th CNN debate between Trump and President Biden, whose poor performance led to his exit from the race. Quote, people were concerned that statements were allowed to just hang and not be disputed by the candidate Biden at the time or the moderators. It's not the moderators' job to dispute it. It's up to the candidates to dispute one another because it's a debate. Davis admitted that the moderators studied past statements. They went back and looked at Trump's statements because, quote, politicians tend to say the same things again and again, but somehow they did not prepare to fact check Harris's repeated hoaxes, because Harris back in 2020 during the debate with presidential debate Mike Pence, the vice presidential debate to be specific, regarding her using Very Fine People Charlottesville hoax again back in 2020 and most recently in the current debate on ABC, but they never fact checked her on stage, even though Mike Pence did back in 2020. Biden also used the Very Fine People hoax and other lies in the June debate. Not to mention Kamala Harris also lied about Project 2025, that Trump was spearheading it, that it's all part of his plan, even though it's a lie. He sat there and discredited it many times. He even said, I haven't even read the thing. I'm not going to read the thing. But they're not going to sit there and go after her. It was all part of the plan, folks. It was all part of the plan. And we even have a whistleblower coming out from ABC News. This is an affidavit. Take it with a grain of salt. We don't actually know if it's true. Just because somebody under perjury could do this, under penalty of perjury, you know, you never know if somebody's lying or not. But this individual worked for ABC allegedly for the last 10 years and has really shown a shift from unbiased reporting to a model influenced by external factors. That'd be the Democrat Party. And in this affidavit, they specifically said they do not endorse Trump in any capacity for president of the United States. Now, check this out. We were all wondering, hey, why didn't Joe Biden's mental decline and the cover-up that the Harris, the DNC, and the legacy media covered up, why wasn't that brought up? Well, it was a restriction that was imposed by the Harris campaign in the scope of questioning. No questions regarding the perceived health of President Joe Biden was allowed to be even brought up, which is mind-blowing because, again, it shows how she's a liar. She's a manipulator. She deceived the American people. She lied to the American people. The legacy media did the exact same thing. Can't bring it up. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's one of the biggest cover-ups in American history, folks. No inquiries related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco. Well, why is that? Because once again, it makes her look bad. It shows that she can't be a leader. She can't run even a state as far as Attorney General, being the leading prosecutor, basically the top police, even though crime flourished in the state of California and still is, and driving it into the ground. If she does that to a state, folks, she's going to do that on a federal level and drive the country into the ground in the same way they have been doing so under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The other one says no questions concerning her brother-in-law. Why? Why not question her brother-in-law? Well, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzlement of billions of dollars in taxpayer funds and who may be involved in her administration if elected. God, this sounds a lot like our current president having allegations against him of his entire family being corrupt, having all these shell companies with high security risks that you would never see in your lifetime that have been implemented by the banks, of basically fraudulent activity taking place, millions of dollars coming from Ukraine, Romania, and Russia and China. No conversation about that. He was quoted as being the big guy taking 10% off the top. He's been ousted by his own son through text messages and emails and also his business partners. So it's weird how the Biden family corruption is allegedly rolling into the Harris family corruption, and that's just going to be another waste of taxpayer dollars. Now you have an internal organizational climate where it said, I observed a pronounced bias against Donald Trump, which was just echoed by Linsey Davis, where they only sat there and looked at Trump statements, but not Kamala Harris statements, where they only fact-checked Trump 7 times and not a single time with Kamala Harris, even though there was a lie in almost every statement that she made. Employees expressing favorable views towards him experienced significant concerns about potential retribution. What's that retribution? Them losing their job and giving the boot so they can't feed their family. The purpose of documentation of the affidavit is to be executed to document and provide transparency regarding the issues of fairness and impartiality in the debate process and broader concerns. Now, what's funny was ABC did an internal audit on this and go, yeah, nothing to see here. There was nothing staged, nothing off, nothing weird. Folks, they went as far to sit there and manipulate the way the camera angles were. Kamala Harris is only 5'2", 5'3". She had a special podium made for her to sit there and look as big as Donald Trump, who's like 6'2", 6'3". Not to mention the actual screens that we're looking at. I'm looking right at the camera right now, but there's a monitor that could be above my camera and below, which there's not. But during the debate there is, and during newscasts there are. So if I just look a few inches down, I'm no longer looking at the camera, even though I think I'm looking at the camera because of the monitor. They flipped it on Trump, you guys. If you look at the debate, Trump wasn't talking to the camera. They did that on purpose. Also, they zoomed in on Trump like this, I am with you, because it makes him look more squished, and they had the view of Kamala Harris more pulled out. They also had Kamala Harris above Donald Trump looking down on him to make her seem more superior than Donald Trump. It was all a facade, folks. It was all part of the strategy. It was all part of the manipulation. They know exactly what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time, and they wanted to sit there and change people's perception of Kamala Harris, making her seem like she's better than what she is, and also hiding big topics like covering up the president's mental decline, also cover up the fact that she sucked at her job as attorney general, also cover up the fact that there's allegations against her brother-in-law of taking taxpayer money. Now, there's also things that came out that we want to make sure we debunk here as well, and that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's tweet, where she said here, a whistleblower who claimed Harris was given debate questions ahead of the debate has died in a car crash, according to news reports. Now, this went mainstream, and that's why I think it's always good to kind of sit back and wait for evidence to come out and see if it really is true. It kind of seemed a little off on its face. The reason why is we don't know who the affidavit was. We don't actually know who the whistleblower is here. It's blocked out. Now, you could say, well, isn't she in Congress? Couldn't she have known? Yeah, absolutely. There could be truth to that. But she came out a few hours later and said, this story appears to be false, and I'm glad to hear it. We need a serious investigation into the whistleblower's report that Kamala Harris was given debate questions ahead of the time from ABC. Now, here's the problem. You kind of discredit yourself automatically, where at least if you would have put in the original post saying, hey, there's reports and allegations being made. I know she said news reports, but that is a big thing to make that statement, because a lot of people, you have that idea of what Hillary Clinton has done, the Biden family has done in terms of allegedly offing people so they couldn't get their whistleblower statements out there, or just kind of exposing things. So this was kind of damning on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Always take things with a grain of salt, even with what I'm posting here. This, again, is coming from multiple sources. It's not like it's just coming from Breitbart. Again, it's coming from Fox News. It's coming from the New York Post, Los Angeles Times. I mean, everybody's reporting on what Linsey Davis admits here. And I think she's admitting it because of this whistleblower coming out and saying, look, this is what was done. They claimed it wasn't being done, but it was. She has to sit there and do a special interview with Los Angeles Times exposing all this. And I'll even go a step further. There's also reports that the Harris campaign did get the questions, and the way the media is manipulating this is saying, well, she didn't get the exact questions, that she kind of got these simplified versions of what could potentially be asked. They were quoting it as sample questions, but the sample questions were very, very closely aligned to the exact questions that were proposed during the debate. And the way they get away with it going, she didn't get the exact questions. Well, she may have not gotten the exact verbatim question, which gives them that ouster with that word exact, but she was given sample questions. And we thought and we allege that this might have been taking place just from the way she was answering them. Because if you look at her interviews, she can't answer questions. And that's why she's not doing press conferences, folks. That's why it took her almost 2 months to do a single actual interview or have policy come out or anything of the sort. And when she did do an interview with Miss Bash of CNN, it was limited to 18 minutes because they cut down a 41-minute interview because it was taking her so long to answer basic questions. She was taking 15 to 20 seconds to think of an answer of basic questions. What's your policy? What are you going to do on day one? What are you going to do in your first 100 days in office? How are you going to fix the economy? Hey, can you explain why we had 9.1% of inflation? Can you explain why you allowed the country to be driven into the ground and allow an invasion happen at the border? Hey, why'd you lose 320,000 children, Kamala, to forced labor, sex trafficking, and slavery? Can you explain that one to me? They didn't do any of that. The big topics, never question on Joe Biden's mental health, never question on her time as a prosecutor and attorney general, allowing crime to flourish, the smash and grabs, allowing illegal aliens back onto the streets to commit murders and heinous crimes against American citizens. None of those were questions, but we know exactly what the legacy media is doing. They're trying to promulgate, puppet up this terrible politician that not even Democrats liked, and sit there and push her into the office of the presidency, folks. It's wild stuff, but I'm always curious on what you think about this. Make sure you check out our podcast, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, weekdays. They're on Rumble, YouTube, as well as X, folks. Would always love your support. If you think we deserved it, hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you next time, Patriots. Take care.